Last night, however, was yet another historical moment. Haven't seen something like that since, I think, Lyndon Johnson. I'm pretty sure. But we'll get all of this stuff from one of Lansing's most effective public affairs professionals. That's what they call him. I call him good friend. He's the chief strategist and CEO at Harbor Strategic Public Affairs, and watched Joe Biden's address to the nation last night, I'm sure, and is on with us now. Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I need to hire you to be my public relations agent.
I can be bought. We didn't see. I mean, did Joe Biden say anything last night was surprising? Probably not.
No, not really, other than the fact that he did not directly address what's going on with his health and why he actually left the race. He said it was time to give a voice to youth and a fresh voice and all that. And that's just
what's funny, though? That's the one thing. He could have just come on and said that, and that's the one thing everybody wanted to hear. But I don't think anybody expected him to say it.
That's fair enough, right? Because he's denied dealing with it all along. And why is that the case? His staff is maybe telling him to do that. His wife is maybe telling him to do that. But really, we have to look at the human element of this too, Mike. To run for president, to run for any kind of big statewide office, it takes a massive amount of sacrifice. It takes a massive amount of ego. All kinds of things get mixed in there. And Joe Biden had his eye probably on the presidency, like a lot of politicians, from the start. He was an incredibly young U.S. senator. I think he wasn't even actually eligible age-wise when he got elected. He became eligible in between the election and when the first Congress started that he was in. He's worked his way to the top. He's had a lot of setbacks. He had 2 failed runs for president a long time ago. He was probably thought he was next to run after President Obama was done, but they put Hillary in there instead of him. And so when he finally fought his way back here and made it, he was in no hurry to go. And that we look at politicians, the sacrifices and the work they do. We kind of have to know that comes with the territory. He doesn't want to leave. And so in last night's speech, he still was in denial about why he's being kicked out, why he's not there. The ego does not adjust, apparently, to some of these things. And instead, he tried to make it look like he was, one, protecting his legacy, and 2, implying he was still going to accomplish a lot in the next 6 months. And I'm not sure anybody believes that.
No. And the term lame duck now, all of that. So are you watching Kamala Harris? Is that a slam dunk at the convention? Pretty much, I think.
Yeah, they have wired it up incredibly quickly. This team has already talked back. A lot of reporters were starting to see these stories of how Kamala did it. The lightning strike, how she was prepared, how she called her team over to the Naval Observatory where the Vice President of the United States lives and ordered a bunch of pizzas and already had the phone list ready to go. And everybody was making their calls from the minute that Biden had called and told her that he was not going to run again. And so she was already prepared to do this. So there was a lot of mystery in the operation. And you do have to give him credit from a pure blitzkrieg political standpoint that the Harris team moved fast and caught off a lot of potential challengers. And why shouldn't she have a challenge? Kyle Malin here, who writes for MERS and City Pulse, has got a column out today in City Pulse talking about how the Democrats cut off democracy in this situation. Kamala Harris didn't have to face a single public vote. She never had to go through a primary. And because of some legal considerations on putting names on the ballot in the various states, they're likely to conduct basically like a Zoom vote on her becoming the nominee, which basically doesn't take place in public in just maybe a week or so. So a lot of that situation doesn't feel great about how she's doing that, but she's going to be the nominee. So, Mike, we're going to turn to find out if she's actually going to be good at this or not.
Well, and they were talking about that Zoom vote thing and everything, and then, right even after the assassination attempt on Trump, and I actually said to my guys, I said, you look at that iconic picture of him, you look at all the, he had that fist in the air, that strength, that kind of thing. Then you look at the chaos of, we're going to do a Zoom vote before you contrast the two conventions. And I said, I don't see this not being a slam dunk for Donald Trump. Now, John, all of a sudden, even with all of that going on, it seems like, I could be wrong, I hate going on feeling, but what are you thinking? It seems like that energy is just sort of waned already.
But that's what we do in the United States these days. Something new
We're
and exciting
fickle.
comes along, we devour it, right? We eat it up, and poof, it's gone, and we're like, okay, what's next? And I actually had that feeling after I got over the 6 hours of watching the coverage that day when it happened. It was so shocking that any current or former president could be under attack like that. It's an attack on all of us, certainly. You think, gosh, how long will this last? What will be the lasting impact? And in our political system, which is why so many people are so dissatisfied with it. So many people are so unhappy and they seem to sort of check out from it, because how do you keep up with this? People like us, it's like in our line of work, we're paying attention, but our moms and our cousins and our friends, they actually have realized, and they just look at this and go, how can I invest a lot of time in this? Because it's impossible to know from day to day what's going to happen next. It's like watching the Kardashians, but without the fun. So it is really like a vibe thing. That's one of the words I wrote down last night. That's just another vibes election. And so when we talk about the energy and the changes of things right now, what I observe about the Democrats and Harris is they're in this moment of euphoria. It kind of comes as like maybe a sense of relief, but it's exhibiting itself in euphoria and excitement. They are so relieved. You could tell how despondent they were, how depressed their vote turnout was going to be if Biden had remained the nominee, because you can see it through the enormous historical flood of small dollar contributions to the Harris campaign over just the course of a few days, right? You see it in Harris's speech. I mean, that speech she gave in Milwaukee, it meant the moment as far as telling the Democrats the only thing they needed to hear, that help was here and that a change was going to take place and somebody more aggressive was going to be their nominee. But it was all platitudes. You know, we want to have more jobs. We want to have a better economy. The crowd goes wild. It's not going to stay that way. So that's my point. Euphoria will calm. Like you just said, we'll move on to the next thing. And then she has this one chance to introduce herself or kind of reintroduce herself to American voters. And then we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. So we're not quite there yet.
But is the I mean, we better get down to the nitty gritty pretty soon. It's coming. And there's the danger, because we get sort of smoke screened in the general political realm on both sides. We get smoke screened into the feeling, right, and the energy, and we miss the issues. We miss the border crisis. We miss the what are you going to do about this, that, and the other. We get smoke screened, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And if you're Kamala Harris, they have to determine, if Donald Trump is considered the change agent in this election before Biden got out, what is she going to do to be the change agent and not just be the status quo, the defender of the Biden administration? Is she going to have to say that she didn't have anything to do with these decisions and she disagreed with them all but never spoke up? Is she going to put her own spin on some of these policy issues? And then on the flip side, the Republican PR machine from Washington already had all these clips of her talking in the past about banning fracking, making energy more expensive, potentially letting felons and murderers have the right to vote. All these issues that are clearly more to the left of where Biden was, which helped Biden win a general election, but makes Kamala Harris more fitting for where the Democratic Party is right now.
You think they're going to have they're going to debate, aren't they?
Yeah, I really think they're going to need to. I think both sides may need it. And I think Trump is pretty confident about his debating skills, and Harris is too. I think there's going to be a much higher level of tension and dislike.
Yeah.
I don't like using the word hatred, but it's gonna be quite a show once it happens.
It'll be again another show, a big show, but just on a debatability, I guess you could say. Donald Trump, I don't know. She didn't. Kamala Harris, the first time around running for president, she didn't do all that well at the debates, did she?
No, she didn't, and I think that's important to take note of. In Kyle's column today, he points out that even when she won the U.S. Senate seat that she previously had in California, in that year, all the statewide Democrats got over 50% of the vote. There was multi-way general elections, so some of the people got less. Well, she actually was the only one to get less than 50% when she won her Senate seat the first time in 2010. And then when she ran for president in 2019, she kicked off with a huge bang, kind of like she is right now. There were great pictures of her announcement in San Francisco, and thousands of people showed up for it. And she completely flamed out. She didn't even make it to Iowa. And she, handed it over to basically Joe Biden, who was also struggling to get through at the time, but he got the nomination and then threw her a lifeline by including her as vice president. And, Mike, we do have to look at those historical examples of how good of a campaigner has she been in the past, and the results are definitely mixed. She has won elections. She's been the California Attorney General. You got to take that seriously. She's been in the United States Senate. You have to take that seriously. And then her presidential campaign flopped. And then we look at her approval rating as vice president is not good. It's just as bad as Biden's approval rating has been. So she has, like I said earlier, this one chance here to sort of reset or actually introduce herself to America as who she is today. And the polls that come over the next few weeks are going to tell us a lot about whether that approval rating she's saddled with now, which has her well below 40% approval rating, is that going to improve? And then secondarily, the places where Biden was struggling in these polls, losing support with African Americans, especially males, losing support with Hispanics, again, especially males, can she fix that? Is just her being on the ballot sort of a repair for the Democratic Party on that front? That's yet to be told.
John Sellek, one of the coolest cats I know. Harbor Strategic. How you like that? That's my PR for you.
Well, thank you so
we'll
much,
chat
Mike.
again soon, buddy. Hey, thanks a lot for being on 1320 WILS.